There are certain things that are par for the course. It is standard. And when it comes to fine dining in Barbados, Champers is that standard. Because no matter what the occasion, wedding, anniversary, birthday, business meeting, random Tuesday, somehow we always find a reason to end up at Champers. Good for us, right? But what's even better is we have the restaurateur herself, the woman behind Champers, Ms. Chiryl Newman. She's our special guest today on Pivot Pioneers, and Pioneer definitely describes Chiryl. How are you?
Brilliant. Thank you so much for having me, Gaynell.
Oh, we were so excited to know that we would have this opportunity. As a matter of fact, by the time this episode airs, you would have celebrated an anniversary.
24 years.
Look at you, 24
marriage.
years
24 years of marriage.
Yes, let us be specific. So you know what? I say let's start the episode right. Let us raise a toast
Perfect.
to Chiryl.
Cheers.
Cheers.
My favorite Baileys.
Listen, it is a favorite for everyone. Nobody drinks Baileys and then things go wrong. Nothing goes wrong. So, Oh, that is good. 2 ice cubes and 3. And no matter how you look at it, isn't it elegant? Huh? Isn't it? You can call for it by name, and they've got plenty of choices. You can do so many things with Baileys. But then again, who am I telling? A restaurant?
But it's delicious over ice cream as well.
It's delicious over ice cream. And you would know your desserts, you would know your food, and we're going to get into that menu. But I think the beautiful thing about this particular show is we get to see the engine room behind the operations, which is so important, especially in the area of business. But first, let's talk about Champers. When we say Champers, what is it you want people to think or feel?
Well, I want you to think consistency. I want you to feel special, because that's what we try to make our customers feel when they come to Champers, that they're special.
The one thing I do notice is that you always seem to know your customers by name, circumstance, happenstance, as they say, to the point where you can be like, oh, listen, whatever became of so-and-so and so-and-so, or happy birthday to your dog. I realize you had another anniversary. You seem so in tune to your customers, and that can't be easy with so many people coming in and out like that.
I know, but the thing about it is we've been really fortunate over the years to have a real loyal customer base. So instead of them being customers, a lot of them have actually become friends. So they're and they feel as though they're coming back home. You know, they celebrate their anniversaries, their birthdays, special occasions.
Right.
You know, so it is important for us as we develop as a business to get to know the people that we have to serve.
Now let's talk about the development of this business, because you would have started with another enterprise. So how did you get into the restaurant business to begin with? Because that wasn't your natural background, was it?
No, purely by accident.
Wow.
I was a travel agent. I worked at St. James Travel for about 15 years. And a customer came in and said to me that he was selling his business. It was a small champagne and wine bar in Holetown. And that just felt right for me. I just thought to myself, you know what? This is something that I can do. I always wanted to work for myself. And I thought, why not? Give it a go.
Why not?
Just by chance.
Isn't that the beauty of youth, though? Why not?
I was
Give it a go.
I was 27 years old. I had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You know, I still had my job at the travel agency. If it didn't work out, I could always go back to that. So I thought, why not? And that led to Champers.
Right. But you would have learned things along the way, because I don't think that growing up, we would have heard about a rum shop for sure, but a champagne and wine bar might not have been the natural tapestry of the average Barbadian. So that would have been a learning curve.
Yes, it was. And at that time, I knew absolutely nothing about wine other than to drink it.
What else do we do?
But St. James Travel was on the West Coast, and this little champagne bar that I purchased was on the West Coast. And everybody knows the West Coast is famous for, you know, champagne, you know, it's the Gold Coast of Barbados.
Right.
And so owning a champagne and wine bar just seemed like the thing to do. You know, you can learn anything. You know, there's nothing stopping you from gathering the knowledge. And I liked serving people. I was always involved in tourism and service. So I loved to cook. So cooking came natural to me. Learning about the wines, there were great wine suppliers that, you know, taught you things. So it just came natural, really natural.
So you have this swanky little wine and champagne bar, and it could have ended there. It could have been cool just to have some place that you call yours at the end of the day while still maintaining the 8 to 4, so to speak. But people are very, very progressive, and you always strike me as a very ambitious woman. You wanted something a bit more.
We had Nico's, and I had a partner, and the opportunity came to open a restaurant on the South Coast. And it was an oceanfront property, and we thought, why not? So we opened Champers, still having Nico's as well. And the business was just growing. You know, there was back then, I'm talking probably about 30 years ago, there was a need for more restaurants on the island. Barbados was really buzzing. It was in the boom. I think anybody that opened a business then would have done well. And we opened Champers, which was an oceanfront restaurant, very casual, because that was how I felt that the business needed to go. Casual instead of fine dining, you know, fun. And we hired, I think we started out Champers with 15 staff. And I was still working at the travel agency.
So you're still working at the travel agency with a wine and champagne bar, and now some new little swanky dive on the South Coast. Within the same 24 hours.
So then I decided that it was time to give up the travel agency because the business was doing well enough that it could afford to pay me.
Right.
And I gave up the travel agency and took on Champers as a full-time business. And in the meantime, my partner and I decided that we were going to go our separate ways. And he kept the West Coast restaurant, Nico's, and I took on Champers on my own.
But it must have presented certain challenges, because when you have a partner, particularly when that partner is male, there's certain things that we don't realize that they quote unquote shield us from, that we have to confront head on when it is you, a young Barbadian woman, a young Barbadian Black woman, and you might need to secure financing.
Absolutely. Well,
where did those challenges come?
I think I got the shock of my life because I had always been very confident in myself in what I did. And I always felt that people could trust me as a good business person. I worked hard. I went to the market. I bought my fish. I went to the, I bought all my vegetables. I went in the kitchen. I did all the cooking. I was there all the time working. And always made my loan payments on time, never, defaulted on anything. So I had to now borrow some money from the bank in order to pay my partner out. So I went armed with my financial advisor, Joe Ward, and he did all my financial projections for me as how we would go forward with the business on my own. And we went into the bank in Bridgetown and made the presentation. And we had another appointment to go back to where we would be told about the financing arrangements. And I never had any doubt that I would get the financing that I needed. When we sat down in the bank manager's office, he said to me, and those words have always stayed with me, he said, "The bank has little confidence in you running the business. The bank does not think that you are capable of making a success of this business. We have more confidence in your partner being successful." And I said to him, "But why? I'm the one doing all the cooking. I'm creating the menus. I'm really, I brought him on as a partner because I lacked confidence, not because I didn't know what I was doing, you know. So he said, no, the bank has no confidence in you at all.
Wow.
So we're quite prepared to give you the loan, but we're going to charge you prime plus 4%. So whatever
for the lack of confidence?
For the lack of confidence in me. So whatever the prime rate was at the time, the prime interest rate, if it was 7%, I would have to pay 7% plus 4%. So my interest rate would be 11%.
But that sounds like a punishment.
Well, and you have to produce financials every month. And for every day that they're late, there's a $100 fee. And there were lots of other conditions. I was only borrowing $200,000.
That can barely get you a house.
My mother was putting up her house as collateral. The house was valued at more than $200,000. So I couldn't understand
where the risk was.
Yeah, where was the risk? You know, I'm borrowing $200,000. And at that point in time, I thought, gosh, what have I done? What have I done?
I would feel attacked, actually,
So I thought, not knowing, I thought, okay, well, I have to do this. But Joe said, no, this is ridiculous. We're leaving. And the manager said, how do you mean leaving? He goes, we'll go to another institution because you're actually insulting my client. Now, did I not have Joe with me, I probably would have signed away just to get the money.
Because you just wanted to get on with the business.
Because I just wanted to get on with the business. I just wanted to be on my own.
Right.
You know? And that teaches you a lot when you're going into business. Make sure you have really good, sound financial advice. You don't just go into things on your own blind, you know, especially if you don't have that expertise. You know, and being a young person as well, you know, and I think that that's a trap that a lot of people fall into because they don't have the advice that they need. So then they either sign away everything, you know, but
not
fortunately not recognizing
what's before them.
But fortunately for me, I had Joe. You know, everybody needs a Joe.
Everybody needs a Joe.
And we walked down to another bank. Female bank manager, and she knew the product, she knew Champers, you know, and she was, yes, we will support you, you know, I know you can do this. And it was that confidence that she had in me, you know, and gave me the loan because I had the collateral. It wasn't that I was asking for a special favor or, you know,
or blind trust.
Or blind trust.
Just trust me on this one.
Just trust me on this. But the fact that someone can look at you straight in the eye and say, the bank doesn't have any confidence in you. And you think, what gives you that right?
Yeah.
And why would you not have confidence in me as a female, but you would have confidence in my male partner? And I am the one doing the cooking, planning the menus, putting myself out there.
What else do you have to prove?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know?
But you had a lot to prove, and we're going to get into that for sure.
At Dwellings, we believe that home means happy. That your home is a place where you do what you love. With the things that you love. And the people who you love. That's why our selection of housewares and fine furnishings is designed to inspire your dream home. Dwellings, we make your home happy.
Well, we've all learned one thing so far. Have a Joe.
Have a Joe.
Have a Joe. And always have a good plan, sound financial advice.
Absolutely.
But we also have a company to run. And your company seems to have an ethos in existence that your staff has bought into and invested in, where your standard of service, your standard of delivery is written on everybody. How did you get that done?
Okay, when we moved Champers about 14 years ago, and at that time, when we were now purchasing our own building and taking Champers to a completely different level, I realized that with this massive investment, it could no longer be business as usual. Because I think back then, even though it was an excellent business, it still seemed like a hobby. You know, it was something that I really enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
But even though there was a financial commitment, it wasn't as massive as the financial commitment that I was embarking on.
Because this is now property ownership.
This is now property ownership.
Right.
I'm no longer leasing a space. I'm actually going to be owning this space and developing it. And it took on a whole new life. We decided at that time, because we were employing about 30 people then, and we were now going to be employing probably double that. Much bigger space. And I went again for help. I thought I needed to get a professional that could help me sort this whole business out, because I think it's so important that you do things the right way. You know, my staff was going to be enlarged, so I had to bring some sort of order to it.
Right.
You know, people complain if they go into a business and they get bad service. They might say, blame the person serving them. But really and truly, you need to blame the boss. Because if the staff member does not know what is expected of them, how can they deliver?
Yes.
So we brought on May Hines, who is a tourism guru. May knows all about service, all about standards. And we brought May on during the development process to work alongside of us and bring everyone on the same page.
Right.
So the staff then understood what we expected of them. They understood the process that we were now going through, because we were no longer renting, we were going to be owning our own building. So everybody took ownership.
Right.
You know, we put standards in place. We created standards for everything that we were going to be doing. How do you greet the guests when they walk in? How do you greet the guests on the telephone? How do you end the evening with the guests? How is the food to be served? We had to put standards in place for everything and give the staff a buy-in on it as well. They were all a part of creating that.
Right.
You know, creating the standards for the restaurant.
So standard best practices is what we would call it now.
Yeah.
But even then, you never seemed shy about bringing other people into the business to help the business flourish, which is, from my casual observation, a big challenge. People don't like other people's hands in their pots, so to speak. But so far you have a Joe, now you have a May Hines, and whomever else you might have needed to make Champers what you needed it to be.
Yeah. It is important. I think that too often, you know, like you always hear 50% of new businesses fail, especially in food and beverage.
Right.
And you're only as good as the last meal that you have served.
Right.
And I think it is important for every aspect of the business, in order for it to run smoothly, that it is dealt with by people that know what they're doing. I knew very little about training and stuff like that. So I had to bring in a professional.
Right.
You know, I have a great person that heads up my accounts, Sonia Choi. You know, Sonia can get me through anything. You know, you have to understand cash flow projections. You have to, and all of the areas that you are not familiar with, then bring in a professional. That's what they've gone to school to do.
And while it sounds simple, I just find a lot of people choose not to go that route. So I needed to ask you, do you attribute that to a meaningful part of your success as well.
Absolutely. Because I don't know everything, and I can't be expected to know everything. So I need to surround myself with the brightest. I have no problem somebody working for me that has more education than me. I welcome that because they make you look good,
They do.
I think it is very important to surround yourself by knowledge, by people that can give you advice and good advice, that people that can help you along the way. Too often people aren't prepared to pay for help.
Mm-hmm.
They want the help, but they want it free.
For free, right.
If I'm going to bring you in, Gaynell, to organize anything in the restaurant, I don't expect you to do it for free. You went to school. You have to be paid for your talent.
Right.
And in that way, we help each other.
You often speak very openly about even communicating with fellow restaurateurs, exchanging information. Hey, if somebody's got some great fish down here, and I know you also do fish dishes, you're not shy about sharing that information. You might be selective, which is fine. We are all selective. You better believe that. But you're not shy about sharing that. Again, another one of these phenomena, I call it almost a business myth that people think if you've got something, you hold it or you give somebody the upper hand.
We're in the restaurant business, anybody that opens up down the road from me, even if it's just a food van, they're my competition.
Right.
Okay, we're all each other's competition, but at the end of the day, we're all business people. When I first got into the business, Robin Walcott, I remember calling Robin Walcott up quite a few times, asking him, Robin, who collects your garbage for you? Who does this? Who does that? And he was very free with his information. The Paul Owens, the chef at the Cliff, I wanted a recipe for, I think it was a cheesecake. And I said, Paul, do you have a cheesecake recipe that you could give me? And these people were always willing to help me. Now, what's the sense of having knowledge if you can't share it? So they shared it with me, and I'm quite happy if somebody calls me up and says to me, Chiryl, how do I go about doing whatever, to share the knowledge.
Right. Who did you use for your training? Who did you use for
exactly
so and so and so and so? Right.
And it speaks volumes that they would want to ask you, because they obviously think that, well, you've done a good job with it.
Well, I need to ask, because in a world with so many changes, because I feel like, 1 minute we're into this type of dining, and the next minute we're into this type of dining, and people are always introducing new ways to do the same old thing over and over and over. But I don't feel like that's an easy way to run a business, to, flip on trends like that all the time. So how do you know how to keep customers not only happy, but returning for the Champers experience?
It is a challenge in itself, because every day, as you said, every day things are changing. And, sometimes people will say, oh, you haven't changed. The menu has been the same. You haven't changed it. So what you do, you go ahead and you make a whole load of sweeping changes. And then they come back and say, well, why did you take that off the menu?
I didn't mean that one.
Why did you do this? Why did you do that? You just have to try things. I've realized you're never going to please everybody, but you have to go a lot of times with your gut feeling. You have to try things. You have to try to keep things fresh. We're always reinvesting in the Champers product. The last 2 years, we've spent several dollars on refreshing our product. We had Michael Gomes come in and redesign the restaurant,
right?
And to give it a lift, because people always want to go. Barbadians have now gone so sophisticated,
haven't we though?
We have watching too much TV.
Yes.
So they always want this new experience.
Yeah.
So we spent the last 2 years, we spent quite a bit of money reinvesting in the Champers product, refreshing, completely new design, just to keep people's interest.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you want to go someplace that you can see it's constantly improving.
Right.
You don't want to go and say, oh, I was here 15 years ago and they have the same chairs.
I have my chair here because it's always here.
Yeah. But you want to see something new. It has to be exciting.
Yeah.
And, and keep people coming back.
And there are things, I suppose, that we wouldn't have done 15 years ago that we would definitely do now, that we might just want to start our evening by the bar, having some, I don't know, bar snacks and wines. And then we thought, okay, well, let's get a table now. Mm-hmm. And we might not have done that. Maybe one time we went straight for the main course.
Yeah.
And made an evening of it. But now as people's social desires change, you kind of have to amend the product to make sure that you can accommodate that.
Absolutely. And we've got an art gallery. People enjoy that.
Yes.
Let's
talk about the art gallery. Yes.
Vanita Comijan, a local artist, and she curates the gallery. And we also use the gallery for private dining as well. So people can book a private dining inside the art gallery, which is really lovely.
So that's a lovely experience as well. It's like, hey, if we can sip and paint, surely we can eat and watch people's paintings, so why not? So this wonderful world that we are speaking of now, somebody is looking at this program thinking, yes, I remember when we could have all gone outside and eaten freely and done this and done that, and we didn't have to sanitize, we didn't have masks. So we're going to talk about the impact of COVID just a bit.
At Dwellings, we believe that home means happy. That your home is a place where you do what you love, with the things that you love, and the people who you love. That's why our selection of housewares and fine furnishings is designed to inspire your dream home. Dwellings, we make your home happy.
Barbados being a tourist-reliant destination, there's no doubt that our tourism took a massive hit, and everything that goes into it, whether it is watercraft, pleasure craft, restaurant, dining, hotels, etc., etc. But you would have had a few waves to deal with. There was wave number 1, then there was wave number 2, and just because the sheer timing of this program, volcanic ash. Even thinking about it, my head started to swell just a little bit. I could not imagine being a business owner. How do you even start to navigate that?
I'm not going to lie to you again now. It has been challenging. When the lockdown first happened last year, we were coming on to the end of a fantastic season. You're doing over 200 dinners a night, close to 100 lunches, and business was booming. Then we went into a shutdown. And it seemed like a novelty. I thought to myself, okay, probably be up and running by June at the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And because it was, nobody knew what to expect. And I looked at it as an opportunity to exercise more and spend a little time with my husband, and thinking that we were going to be out of it.
Yeah.
And then as the time went on, we realized that this was not going to be a short-term problem. It was going to be a long-term problem. And all the plans that I had made for the restaurant, because we were going to start some renovations and things like that, might not happen. We had a second phase of renovations planned. Anyway, my Joe said to me,
my Joe
said to me, I can't think of a better time to do the renovations, because when will you get an opportunity to close the restaurant for 4 months? Because this is going to be a long closure. So we went ahead and we planned, got all of our financing in place, did our renovations, reopened in September. Everything was going well. We did some training with the staff in August to bring everybody back fresh. And we opened everything is going really well. October, good. November, building up. Christmas, oh, it's like old times.
Yeah.
And then heard a few rumblings about things happening, but didn't really pay any attention. And then on the 31st of December, I was getting ready to go into work. Old Year's night, we were full. And one of my restaurant assistant manager called me and said, the Prime Minister is speaking in half an hour. So you better listen.
Words, the words.
So I thought, well, what could the Prime Minister be saying? So anyway,
the New Year's message usually comes the following day. Why is she preempting this?
And we've got a full night, everything. And I heard about the curfew, midnight curfew. I went into a tailspin. Called back up Rosita. And we said, well, what are we going to do? And she said, well, we just need to get through this. It just means that we'll do Old Year's night earlier. So instead of having Old Year's night at midnight,
yes,
we'll just get everybody in early, and we'll have Old Year's night early. So I thought, okay, this is a plan. She called all the customers. Of course, most of them were tourists here on holiday, and everybody agreed to come in early, and we put on what I thought under the circumstances was a fantastic Old Year's night. And then we went into the second lockdown. Well, I think that hurt me more than the first lockdown because I did not anticipate it.
Wow.
The second lockdown was 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. After being closed for 6 months.
Right.
The previous year. And the thing about it is that when you own your own business, you have a responsibility to all of your staff. So it is not that you're worried only about paying your own mortgage and your own bills. You have people that work for you, and most of them are the breadwinners of their families.
Right.
So it is your responsibility to make sure that they can pay their bills. So they've now been off for 6 months, but National Insurance paid that. But now they're going to be off for 6 weeks. And it is 1 week after the other. You have also got all of your bills to pay because February is our biggest earning month. That's in the height of the season. And there's no revenue.
Yeah.
There's no revenue.
Where's the shortfall going to come from?
Yeah. How do you navigate this? How do you get through this? And to be honest with you, the only thing that got me through this, again, good planning by people in finance, Sonia, Kimberly, Joe, good relationship with the bank, talking to the staff and trying to keep all of the staff employed. Because the last thing you want to do is be sending home people. That's the last thing you want to do. Because at the end of the day, it is a responsibility. If you're a business owner, your responsibility is to your staff. So we got permission to reopen. And we had to, of course, look at the hours because now the tourists have gone.
That's the thing.
The tourists have gone. A lot of people, I hear it all the time. People come, on the call-in programs, people complaining about the tourists. What people don't realize is that in Barbados, every single person depends on a tourist.
Yep.
You might think because you sell coconuts or you are a seamstress that you don't depend on tourists, but you do. Because it is a cycle.
Yes.
That money circulates all around, and when there are no tourists, every single business in Barbados fails. Every single business. And people don't realize that. They get very short-sighted. And, when you hear that slogan, tourism is our business, it is everybody's business.
It really is.
So yes, we need the tourists, whether we want to or not, and they can talk about diversifying into agriculture. But if you go into agriculture, who's going to eat the produce? You still need somebody to, you know, to buy it.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's just not enough of us.
And there are not enough of us. Our population is too small.
Yeah.
You know, it's too small to sustain the level of businesses that we have in Barbados, especially because a lot of them are tourism related, you know, service oriented. So we kept our staff on. Of course, everybody's staggered hours. And we came up with an operating plan that so far is working.
So far is working. And
then we had the ash.
Oh, yes. The
Now,
ash.
you say to yourself, Lord, I know you say that you don't give people more than they can deal with. But
Which people you met?
oh, the ash. If anything brought tears to my eyes, it was the ash. I'm standing on my patio at home and I can normally see right, and I
can't see.
I couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
The ash had engulfed everything, and I thought to myself, God, if it's like this here, what is it like at work?
That's right.
You know? Luckily, all of my guys came in, all the porters came in, and we just cleaned. We just cleaned and cleaned and cleaned, so that when we got the all clear to open on Wednesday, you know, we were still cleaning up until 5 minutes before customers came in.
We will be cleaning until 5 minutes before the show airs, Chiryl, because trust me, it's going to be with us for a while. And another thing that we have to just learn to do. So what would you say was your biggest learning moment throughout all of these crises, especially as a business owner, but then as a person as well?
You can't take anything for granted. You can't think that tomorrow you will wake up and things will be exactly as you left them the day before. You have to now be more or less prepare yourself for the unexpected. You have to be strong. And when you need to cry, just cry. But you have to be strong. It taught me that I am stronger than I thought I was. And I'm also weaker than I thought I was.
At the same time.
At the same time.
Right.
You know? You just need to pull on everybody and help everybody. You can't live in your own little bubble. You have to extend that bubble to people around you. And pull in people, because you don't know who's hurting and how they're hurting.
It is a fact.
Because you're so caught up trying to deal with your problem, because your problem to you seems like a bigger problem. But there are people out there with bigger problems than yours.
Much bigger.
You know? The fact that you can wake up and you've got food on your table, a roof over your head, there are a lot of people that don't have that luxury. So you have to kind of pull in people and try and help people.
And it goes back pretty much to what you were talking about earlier. What is the point in having the knowledge if you're not going to share? What's the point of having the resources if you're not going to share? Or having a spirit of generosity if you're not going to use it? Yeah. And I think if anyone has tapped into, and I use this word very carefully, the opportunity that tragedy brings us to pause, reflect, take stock, re-engineer ourselves, and get going again.
Yeah. You can't give up. You can't.
Yeah.
There are times that you feel like giving up because you're thinking, well,
what's the point?
What's the point?
Yeah.
Something else.
Yeah.
What's going to happen next? But you can't give up. You can't give up because you've got a responsibility to somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, and you might not realize it, but there are a lot of people that depend on you indirectly, you know, or directly. But anytime that's what keeps me going, because anytime I think, what next? I think of my staff,
right?
You know, and the people around me, the people at church that we do stuff for.
It really is a community, and when you break that circle, that's when the chain is broken, and then we're all scrambling for ourselves, and we got to keep the chain together.
Yeah.
That's the only way it circulates.
At Dwellings, we believe that home means happy. That your home is a place where you do what you love. With the things that you love. And the people who you love. That's why our selection of housewares and fine furnishings is designed to inspire your dream home. Dwellings, we make your home happy.
Everybody has a very different approach to how they see business. Do you ever see yourself expanding or diversifying the Champers product?
No. And I don't make any apology for that. Some people might say that I'm not ambitious enough or I'm not, but I'm happy with what I've got. You know, and I think that if you feel that you're in a good place, that's the place to be. People have asked me, would you like to open another restaurant? I've gone and asked that a lot. I've been offered properties, I've been offered situations. No, I'm happy with what I've done. I'm happy with what I've achieved so far. So no, I'm good.
In your good space. Well, when you think about success and what defines it for you, especially where Champers is concerned, what would that look like?
Success for me is what we've been able to build in the last 24 years of Champers, where people say to me, I come to Champers. Champers is the only restaurant I go to celebrate all my special occasions. Champers is the only place I go when I think of going out somewhere special. And to know that we have created Champers 100% wholly Barbadian owned, all of our chefs, no foreign chefs, everything that we do is indigenous. That makes me proud. That make me feel successful, because a lot of times people think that the only reason where a restaurant can be successful is if they have a foreign chef or a foreign manager or whatever. And that hasn't been the case. We've been successful based on having 100% Barbadian or West Indian, because I do have a St. Lucian and a Vincentian in the kitchen and a Guyanese.
Because you need some spice in the pot, Chiryl. You need some.
But you know, it's West Indian.
Yeah.
It's Barbadian, and that makes me proud. That makes me feel good that I don't have to say, well, you know, meet my foreign chef,
Jean-Luc.
Jean-Luc.
It's always a Jean-Luc.
Yeah. You know, that makes me proud.
What legacy would you like Champers to leave on the, map of Barbados?
That when people think of going out for a special evening or just going out to meet up with friends, that Champers is at the top of their list. Or if you go on Barbados Travel Advisor and people are saying, where should I go for my first dinner in Barbados? That you see Champers pops up, you know, and is recommended by people. Or the many emails that I get from people that have visited the restaurant and said to me, you made our evening so special. Thank you so much. You know, your staff were wonderful. Of course, there are times you don't get it right. We don't always get it right, but it's not for lack of trying.
Right.
You know? So when people think of Champers, I want them to think of a warm, fun, welcoming place to go. That you can walk through our doors and you don't feel intimidated. You don't feel that you shouldn't. You feel like you belong. You feel like this is my place.
My place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking about it now, and I'm here trying to mentally just count how many of those wonderful flyers I have. Birthdays, anniversaries, and I keep other people's menus too. Yeah. I've got a box full of them. I keep those things. They mean something. It's just a little thing, but it means something.
I know it's you always trying to come up with something to make people feel special. You know, and you love to see your name, don't you?
Oh,
everybody likes to see their name.
With a champagne flute.
And then we started putting their picture and just trying to make the experience, something that they can remember. And because when you go out to dine, you're not only going out for the food, you're going out for the experience.
Right.
So that's all a part of it.
What would you look back and tell that precocious 27-year-old who was first offered the opportunity? What would you tell her now?
I would say, I was Chiryl Wiltshire then. So I would say, Chiryl Wiltshire, go for it. Go for it. You've got absolutely nothing to lose and you're going to do good.
You're going to do good.
Yeah.
Chiryl Wiltshire, Newman, you did real good. And we are so happy to have had you on this season of Pivot Pioneers, because I also got to thinking, I don't know of another woman restaurateur that I can think of off the top of my head, and certainly not one that has lasted the 3 decades.
Thank you, Gaynell.
That's a testimony to good service on your part.
Thank you.
We cannot thank you enough for the continued support you have given to our Pivot Pioneers and, of course, the Pivot series. It has been an absolute honor, especially this season with the number of women we've managed to procure for this particular season. And we certainly hope you have enjoyed and you continue to enjoy. It's on the internet, so it will live forever. So you can share, you can rewatch, and you can enjoy not only the stories, but take away the lessons and learn the way I've had the benefit of learning. Thank you all so very much, and continue to pivot.